Hi guys, today we're going to be having a bit of a chat around relationships, and in particular the age gap between you and your Filipina partner or girlfriend or whatever it might be in that relationship. And is that important? And if so, why? And maybe why not? So stay tuned and we'll get to it shortly. So firstly, the first thing I want to bring up is that in the West we have that belief, if you like, that it's important to be around the same age in a relationship because you're going to have more things in common. Well, you know, we're going to like the same sort of things, maybe the same music. We've got things we can talk about because we grew up in the same era, all that sort of thing. And I was married. My first marriage was to a woman who was just a few months apart from me in age, and really that didn't provide anything of substance, just because there might have been a few mutual likes, you know, we went to the same school or whatever, and you know, it became difficult, I guess, to grow together. And I think that's the important thing. No matter the age difference, you've got to actually grow together. It's not about what you like or dislike. It's about what you have in common. Even you know, you can have very little in common, and you can still have a fantastic relationship. When you have lots in common and you're very similar type of people to each other, that can get boring very quickly because you're not exploring and finding out new things. There's nothing new to find out. You already know, you're too much alike. So that to me is a bit of a fallacy that we have in the West, that you need to be around the same age group. Now, then there's the other extreme. You can jump to the other extreme. You know, what is it okay, or if someone's, you know, 65 and they're dating a 25-year-old or 20-year-old. Well, that's not really for anyone to answer but the people in that relationship. Now, you've got to feel comfortable within that relationship. You know, can you walk down the street without and not think that people are all staring at you? And they might be, and you know, it's something that's hard for people to get their head around. And you got to look at why each of you are in that relationship. Now, Filipinas are very caring people by nature, so that they can go into a relationship, you know, and they'll care, you know, they can act in that caring role for an older man and still find love for that man. You know, it's hard for people to understand, I guess, because they look and they see a beautiful younger Filipina, and yet she's with this old man, and it becomes, the mind sort of boggles a little bit, I guess. The thing in their relationship is that they're finding new things about each other all the time that are strengthening their bonds together, and as they go forward, it's about creating new experiences that keep a relationship alive, if you like. You know, not rehashing the same old things over and over and over again. So when we see these relationships with, you know, an older guy and a younger woman, we've got to think to ourselves, well, you know, it might not be what we would like, but is it working for that person? And only that couple can answer that question. So there's an interesting thing that, you know, has always got me thinking a little bit. Filipinas are, you know, not all, you know, you can't say all Filipinas, but there's some Filipinas who don't mind dating older men or marrying older men. There's some that don't, you know, like anywhere in the world. But as I said, because of their caring, nurturing nature, they don't always go on looks or things like that. They look more into the person and see that, you know, he's a kind, generous soul, and together they look at, you know, they can have a good life together, same as a Western woman would do. You know, they would look and see, well, you provide financial security, okay, Western women do that too. So there's nothing wrong with a Filipina saying, oh, well, I'll get financial security, but I also can love this man as well. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But as I say, the interesting thing is that the Filipinas don't tend to date older Filipinos. So the men of that country and the women of that country don't tend to have the big age difference that the women will have with Western men in general. You know, like in the West, you know the people, unless you're Donald Trump or someone like that, you don't get a really much younger woman. Although I've been married to a woman who was also 16 years my junior, so it does happen, but it's probably not as common as what you'll find between a Western man and a Filipina. So, but it's curious why that is, and I do think it's partly, if I'm honest, it is partly to do with gaining a financial security. That's probably, to a lot of Filipinas, they probably look at that first. You know, like they want to get out of a country that's not so rich, where they can have a better life, and who doesn't want that? Seriously, who doesn't want that? But from there, that's just at the starting point. But from there, the relationship grows and the love forms, and then it's a genuine, full-on relationship that two people can share. So I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting financial security, because we all want that, no matter who we are. So to me, if you and your Filipina can't walk down the street together and you feel comfortable within yourself, that, you know, people are not all looking at you and talking about you and all that sort of stuff, then there's probably issues around that you've got within yourself, because it's highly unlikely that she's going to feel that way, if she's in it for the right reasons. That is, she's not going to feel that way, and the issues might lay within you as the man dating this younger woman. So you've got to get your head around that, and you've got to be accepting of that and say, well, if this is right for me, then I'm going to feel it's right, and I don't care what anyone else thinks. Of course, you have to be prepared. We all hear the stories that these younger women, they do marry these older men, and then after a few years they might take off, you know, and go and take them for what they can. They might get the residency in a country or whatever, and then take off. You know, that's if they move out of the Philippines and come to your country. So there's always those thoughts that go around, but if you take your time in the relationship and don't rush into it, you're going to find that you will learn a lot about that person, and this is unlikely to happen. You know, it's because you've built your relationship around love, kindness, caring, and trust, and you've built that intimacy between the two of you, and that bond that is not going to be easily broken. And let me tell you, Filipinas, once they commit to a relationship, on the whole, not all, but on the whole, as a race of people, they very much believe in marriage and the family system, and, you know, staying together and not bailing out when things get a little bit tough, as it can happen quite often in the Western culture. In our Western culture, divorce rate is hitting up towards the 50% mark in here in Australia and the US, where you know, divorce rates getting very close to 50%. So that myth, if you like, we have about being in the same age bracket, you know, within a few years of each other, that blows it out the water. It's just not working, if you like. And, you know, there's various reasons for that, and you know, a lot of infidelity goes on in the West, and I'm sure it happens in the Philippines too. Undoubtedly, I'm sure it happens in the Philippines. But you know, to split up the relationships, the marriages, in Western countries is a very common thing. You know, 1 and 2. Go down the tubes, so to speak. So I do find that, you know, my experiences, you know, is that the Filipinos, they do strive very hard to maintain that family life, that family balance. They look after their husbands very well, and you know, they seem very proud to do that. You know, they're very proud to do that, to say, you know, keep it a nice home, and to look after their husbands. So I think for anyone to say that a relationship just based on age is not going to work or it's improper, well, you know, that's your own judgments. You know, and people sometimes shouldn't be so judgmental, maybe because they've had a bad experience. You know, it is possible. Like my wife now, we're 20 years difference. When we met, I was 49 and she was 29. So that's not too young. You know, like I had girls wanting to talk to me who were 20-year-old, and I didn't want to borrow that because I knew the chances of that working, in my view, was remote. The age difference is just getting far too out there, and these are still girls, you know, and these girls are probably looking for monetary gain and things like that. So you've got to be a bit realistic and use your brain a little bit, and not start thinking with the lower part of your body too much, because that's where trouble will come in. But you know, and there's plenty of women in the Philippines. You know, if you're in your 50s, 60s, there's plenty of women in their 30s, 40s who are still beautiful women, loving women, caring women that would really make great partners. So don't rule them out. Don't go straight for the young ones, because that's where you can have the problem. I'm not saying every time, but you know, I've seen relationships here in Dubbo work with, you know, 60-year-old men and 20-year-old women. I've seen it work, but I think it's the exception to the rule. If you're looking for something that's going to be more long-term, sustainable, and what we want to call a real relationship that's going to go, you know, span the test of time, so to speak, then, you know, pitch within that. If you're 50 or 60, look in the 30s, 40s, you know, for that woman, because there's plenty out there, as I say, that would make great partners, and you'd be very happy, like I am. Like this is the best thing I've ever done in my life, was to marry a Filipina, and in particular my beautiful wife, because she's given me something that no one else can ever, you know, has ever given me in my life, you know, and that is true love, affection, caring, understanding, and we're working together. We're not pulling apart, you know. We're never pulling in different directions. We have our individual lives as individuals, and that's very important in any marriage. That she can go off and, you know, do things with her friends, or go shopping on her own, or whatever she wants to do, she can do that. But when we're together and as a family, our goals and direction go together and not pull apart. And that's what I found when I was married to you know, Australian women, was that they're always pulling apart. They're not wanting to go in that same direction as a couple, and even as a family. They just don't do that. And then that's my experience. Again, it's probably not all Australian women or Western women, but that's been my experience. But I find the cultural difference and their thoughts around relationships and marriage with Filipinas is far different to that in the West. And it's more old-fashioned. It's more old-fashioned, I guess, which, you know, we probably had here 30, 40 years ago. So my parents had a similar sort of values and looked at their relationship in a similar way to what I believe the Filipinos do now, Filipinas do now. And I think that's what I really like about it, because you go back 40 years ago, divorce rates weren't very common at all. In fact, they were half, or more than half, to what they are now. So it's only the last 30, 40 years that divorce rates have really skyrocketed in the West, and I think that's the reason why. So in brief, don't be put off by the age difference, but be realistic about it, and let your relationship grow naturally together, and, you know, find that direction you want to move into. Talk about what you want to do, where you want to go in life, and how you're going to get there together, as well as your dreams and goals as individuals, you know, to go forward. So I think that is a big part of the trick in is maintaining a successful relationship with a decent age gap. So anyway, I'd like to hear your opinions, what you believe. I know I've got a lot of people out there who are in relationships with Filipinas, and varying age differences, and I'm sure you've all got thoughts on that, and people who aren't in relationships with Filipinas that might know somebody who is, or seen somebody who is, or have your own opinion. Look, we can share our opinions here as long as it's all respectful, and you know, I'm always open to listening to what other people have got to say. We don't always have to agree on the same things, and it's great to have a forum like this where we can express our opinions and in a respectful way, and have a good discussion about it. So again, thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you've got something out of this, you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment below, share the video if there's anyone you know would be interested in, share it around, hit the like button, and of course subscribe and turn on the notification bell down there for more videos we've got coming up. And just a reminder, it's only about 7 weeks away now that we're, and by the time this is aired, probably about 6 weeks away, that we'll be going to the Philippines for 3 weeks. So look out for some really good stuff there. We're going to be going to different places. We're going to be going, you know, Manila, Cebu, up to Baguio, Vegan, Subic Bay, and who knows where else we might get to if we have time. So we'll be talking to different people, locals, family, you know, watching some family activities. Well, we've got a wedding going on there, so if we have the blessing of my brother-in-law, maybe we can film a little bit of that and see a bit of a traditional wedding, but that'll be up to him. I'm not going to push anything on him there. Yeah, and we'll be seeing some interesting sites as well, some tourist attractions, all that sort of stuff. So plenty of stuff coming up there through April, May and beyond, because we'll have enough to keep going for a while with that. So we hope to bring you some really cool stuff. Alright, so in the meantime we'll keep doing similar videos about Philippine topics, relationships. We did one on a scam not long ago, so you know, scammers in the Philippines, so hope you all enjoyed that and got something out of that. And we've got, of course, Cheska's cooking that she's doing. We're going to try and get her to cook some really traditional Filipino food. So a few of you have been asking for the real traditional stuff. Well, we did the buko salad recently, which is traditional, but we might go into some really more traditional Filipino foods, and you can see how to make them and hopefully get to taste them yourself at your home. Okay, thanks again, guys. Take care. Bye bye.